Live interviews used to run on a simple deal: the host controlled the pace and the guest played defense. Then a few billionaires showed up with cameras rolling and zero patience for sloppy framing. These 10 moments turned confident questions into dead air, clipped comebacks, and instant headlines. Billionaires who completely destroyed their interviewers. Subscribe for countdowns that hit like vintage radio, tight, punchy, and packed with real history. Number 10, Donald Trump. Security stepping into the aisle changed the temperature on August 25, 2015 in Dubuque, Iowa. At a press conference at the Grand River Center, Univision anchor Jorge Ramos stood up and pressed a question without being called on. Donald Trump, 69 years old and already a billionaire celebrity, refused to yield an inch. He told Ramos to sit down, then had him escorted out right in front of the cameras. The key detail was how fast control shifted. The journalist did not get a dramatic follow-up. He got a removal. Ramos later returned and the back and forth resumed, but the first impression had already landed. The guest had physically ended the interview on his terms, and the clip became a defining media moment of that campaign year. Number 9, Elon Musk. A quarterly earnings call turned into a public scolding on May 2, 2018, and it happened in real time. Elon Musk, 46, was answering analysts on Tesla's first quarter call when he abruptly cut off a line of questioning he considered too dry. Then he delivered the phrase that became the headline everywhere: boring, boneheaded questions were not cool, and he moved on as if he had just kicked a heckler out of the front row. The sting came from the setting. Analysts were supposed to be the grown-ups in the room, and the call was supposed to be orderly. Instead, Musk treated it like his stage, and the finance world had to react to a CEO openly refusing the normal rules. He later addressed the exchange on a subsequent call, but the legend was already locked in. Number 8, Carl Icahn. At Delivering Alpha in New York City on July 15, 2015, Carl Icahn, 79 and worth billions, was debating BlackRock chief Larry Fink with CNBC's Scott Wapner moderating. In the middle of the exchange, Icahn launched into a vivid warning about retail investors who he believed were oblivious to the risks in high-yield ETFs. People at cocktail parties bragging about their returns, not understanding what they owned. "Wow, you're stupid," Icahn said, giving voice to what the market would eventually say to those overconfident investors. The reason it stuck was the shock of hearing such blunt language on a polished business stage. Delivering Alpha was built for suits, talking points, and controlled tension. Icahn turned it into old-school Wall Street bluntness, where the guest did not just answer questions, he delivered verdicts out loud. Wapner kept the conversation moving, but the energy belonged to Icahn from that point on. Number 7, Michael Bloomberg. 9 bystanders were injured and the question hit like a match. After the August 24, 2012 shooting near the Empire State Building, Mayor Michael Bloomberg faced reporters and lost his patience in a now-famous exchange reported on August 28, 2012. Bloomberg, 70 and already a billionaire, was asked about police firing so many shots that civilians got hurt. He did not offer a soft political answer. He attacked the logic of the question itself. He told the reporter to imagine a gun pointed at her and implied the scenario answered everything. The shutdown worked because it forced the room into Bloomberg's frame: split-second survival versus Monday morning criticism. The clip became a textbook example of a powerful public figure turning a press question into a public scolding, and it followed him as part of his combative media reputation. Number 6, Chamath Palihapitiya. A lunchtime CNBC segment suddenly sounded like a courtroom argument on January 27, 2021. Chamath Palihapitiya, a Silicon Valley investor widely described as a billionaire, appeared on CNBC's halftime report at the height of the GameStop frenzy. The host tried to steer the conversation toward chaos and risk, but Palihapitiya kept snapping it back to one point: the real scandal was the structure of Wall Street itself. Instead of playing defense, he challenged the framing, defended retail traders, and treated the interviewer like someone protecting the wrong side. The energy was not polite, it was prosecutorial. That is why the clip spread. It felt like the guest had walked into the studio with receipts and refused to let the interviewer set the narrative. In a medium built on quick pivots, he slowed it down and took over. Before we continue, which moment felt most brutal? The ejection, the outburst, or the calm shutdown? Did these clips bring back memories of channel surfing after dinner when interviews still felt dangerous? Drop a comment and let us know where you are watching from. Number 5, Mark Cuban. Cable news momentum collapsed the second the guests started critiquing the questions. In late June 2020, Mark Cuban, 61 and a billionaire, joined Sean Hannity on Fox News and mocked the way Donald Trump handled friendly interviews. Cuban pointed out that Trump could not even answer what Cuban called an ultimate softball question, and he said Fox interviewers routinely made it easy. The segment ended with Hannity trying to reclaim the last word. He rapped by telling Cuban he would give him time to do his research and invite him back, which sounded less like confidence and more like damage control. Cuban did not need a knockout punchline. His win was simpler. He made the audience focus on the interviewer's softness, not the guest's politics, and that reversal was the whole point. Number 4, Steve Jobs. In May 1997, the room was supposed to be full of developers, not drama. Steve Jobs, 42 and already a billionaire thanks to Pixar's 1995 stock debut, took questions at Apple Worldwide Developers Conference in a session that still circulates decades later. One questioner pressed him aggressively about Apple killing OpenDoc and talked in a way that sounded like an insult dressed up as technical concern. Jobs did not raise his voice. He dismantled the complaint by reframing the whole issue, saying customers did not buy technology, they bought what it did for them, and that Apple needed focus more than it needed every legacy project. It was classic Jobs. Control the premise, simplify the argument, and make the question sound like it belonged to yesterday's company, not tomorrow's. Number 3, Mark Zuckerberg. One sentence exposed a generational gap on April 10, 2018 in the U.S. Senate. Mark Zuckerberg, 33, sat through hours of questions after the Cambridge Analytica scandal, and Senator Orrin Hatch asked how Facebook could stay free if users paid nothing for the service. Zuckerberg answered, "Senator, we run ads." No sarcasm, no extra explanation, just a blunt statement that made the question sound painfully outdated. The moment worked because it was calm. There was no shouting, no walkout, no insult. The senator did not lose the microphone, but the power dynamic still flipped. In an instant, the billionaire looked like the only person in the room describing the modern internet in plain English. The line turned into a meme, but it also became a shorthand for why these hearings often struggled to land meaningful punches. Number 2, Charlie Munger. A shareholder meeting became a comedy club for one brutal minute on May 5, 2018 in Omaha, Nebraska. Charlie Munger, 94, sat beside Warren Buffett at the Berkshire Hathaway annual meeting and was asked about cryptocurrencies. Munger did not hedge, soften, or play polite. He called crypto dementia, then said professional trading in it was disgusting, and compared it to people feeling forced to join in because someone else was trading something filthy. The crowd laughed, then applauded because the language was so sharp it sounded like an old-school insult record. The interviewer did not have a follow-up lane after that. Munger had not just answered, he had delivered a verdict. For fans of blunt American business talk, it became one of his signature late-era clips. Number 1, Bill Gates. In late 1995, the internet still sounded like a gimmick to most of America. On November 27, 1995, Bill Gates, 40, sat with David Letterman on CBS Late Show to promote The Road Ahead. Letterman joked, the audience laughed, and Gates tried to explain why this new online world mattered, describing how people could find information and connect around shared interests. Nothing exploded in the moment, and that was why it aged so well. Gates kept his composure while the host treated the idea like a novelty, and history did the rest. When viewers rewatched it years later, the clip flipped into a quiet demolition of skepticism itself. It ended as the most satisfying kind of takedown, not loud, not cruel, just right.